thinking, and two, it is very easy to use and to set up. They have a few different things that differentiate them from most other routers on the market. First thing is they're not horrible and an obnoxious little pain to get working. First thing you notice on top is these little status colors, which this actually will communicate with you in a circle ring of light that changes colors instead of a bunch of flashing ones that many people find quite obnoxious. Once you open it up on the inside, not only will you see the router, but on the top of the lid, you're going to see basically the instructions, which is plug it in and download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Now, as I mentioned, this is a very future-forward router, so it does have several current technologies such as 802.11n and AC. It also has next-gen technology such as Bluetooth Smart Ready, Weave, and 802.15.4, so it should work with many things in the future with several software updates. Now, one interesting thing about this router is this is completely a mobile router. There are almost no hubs on the device itself, no ports on the device itself, and all of the setup has to be done completely through a mobile app, so there isn't even a desktop application to set this up yet. Now, I will be setting this up on an Apple device, but it works just as well on Android, even easier because it has a fancy little audio way to do it. Inside the box itself, you'll see this status color light, this changeable, removable shell here. You'll get the actual router itself, which is this cylindrical thing, and a power adapter and a few Ethernet cables. The shell itself is very easy to remove. It does a few things. It actually covers all the internal stuff. It keeps the wires nice and tidy down at the bottom. Speaking of inside of this guy, there are actually 13 antennas. So it's got 6 of the 2.4 gigahertz antennas as well as 6 5 gigahertz antennas. That superfluous 13th antenna is actually a congestion sensing antenna, so it can tell when your network is having issues. We're going to go ahead and remove some plastic from around this guy. You'll see we have a few more instructions here, which is basically do a couple things. Plug in the power, plug in the internet. That one on the bottom there, that's what's going to plug into, that's the WAN port, so that's going to plug into your modem that you're going to get from your ISP. The top one is your single one and only LAN port. That's where you can plug into your gaming system, your Apple TV, your hub, which is probably what you're going to need, a hub or a network switch, something like that if you're planning on powering more devices. Both those are gigabit Ethernet. So as I mentioned before, this is completely set up on mobile devices. If you have a iOS device, you're going to have to download that app from the App Store. Android, you're also going to have to download it from the Google Play Store, except for the fact that our pairing process is going to be slightly different. On the Google Play version, the Android version, it has a speaker on this guy. There is no microphone, for the record, but there is a speaker, and you can just put your phone to it, and it's going to play some audio tones, and that's going to pair your devices together. The iPhone, it's a little bit more heavy-handed. You're going to have to get some codes off the bottom of the device and do it manually, but it still is very simple. So we're going to walk through the instructions, plug it in, make sure once you're actually plugged in, you're going to connect to your new router. The name and the password will be on the bottom of the device. It's going to then go ahead and install an update. This is going to take about five or so minutes to run through the entire update. Once you do, you're going to have to name your new network, so we're just going to name this Andrew's Network, very nice and simple, and then we're going to give it a password. How about MAO Magic? That sounds like a great one. So we're just go ahead and add a password to our device. It's then just going to think a little bit, and it's going to update. It's going to go ahead and create that new network of yours. It's then going to assign itself to your Google ID. You do log in with like your Google account. It'll tie it to you so it knows who you are, so you can access it remotely. And then you're just going to have to join your new network. It's as simple as that. So you can see we have one device connected right now. A few cool features of the application is this network check. So it's going to go ahead and run some system tests. This does take several more minutes than it's showing here. This is all sped up for the sake of the video. But it gives you all your internet speeds. You can run speed tests right here within the app. It'll tell you your efficiency of how well you're using that bandwidth. It'll show now we have two devices here connected to the network, Andrew's iPhone and Andrew's iPad. You can see the download speeds in real time that those devices are pulling. So my iPad is pulling down 6 megabits per second. You can see it in real time, or you can switch it. You can switch to any of the historical data, hours, days, whatever you'd like to do. You can even prioritize data. So if you are streaming Netflix in your room and sibling or roommate, something like that, is trying to game in another room, you can prioritize your data for Netflix by choosing which device from that list, and you can give it a time period. On the left-hand side, you'll see that Google account that we're tied to. It'll allow you to add new devices as well as help and send some feedback. On the right-hand side menu is where a little bit more of your settings are, so you can get into a little bit more fancy stuff, changing your DNS settings, your UPnP, your universal plug-and-play, any of your static IP, port forwarding, any of that really fancy stuff. For those who want to get into those details, a lot of that is here. So here's actual device information, like the light on the top, the firmware version, and the ability to restart it right from the app. That is something that the Apple AirPorts have, but many others don't, and it's very nice. You don't have to climb through wires to reset your device. You can assign different managers. There's some app support, as well as all Google's privacy policies. When it comes to performance of this actual router, I found that compared to an ISP router and a couple other like neckier ones, this did outperform it significantly. However, it was about on par with the Apple AirPorts Extreme and Time Capsules, and those do have a few more ports. So depending on what you're looking for, if you need a few more ports on the back of a router, maybe, and you have an Apple device, the AirPort is something you should look at. Otherwise, this is a great buy if you're looking for a new router and you want to ditch that crappy one that your ISP is charging you for every month. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the pros and cons. It has a great modern design and should look good anywhere. It has a dead simple setup that anyone should be able to handle. It's got a fantastic app that's great for troubleshooting as well as setting up. It has fantastic speeds. It's very future-proof with many of those new standards already baked in. And it is proactive in working on your network. We'll have to see how that compares to the upcoming Era routers, which promises a similar feature. On the con side, it is a bit pricey. While it is below the Apple Time Capsule, it is still even above the AirPort Extreme, which is more than most people would want to pay for a router. It does have not very many ports on the back with one Ethernet port, so you cannot plug in any printers or hard drives unless you have a network switch, which could muddy things up, and it's no longer that clean modern design. It has no desktop app, so you must do it from mobile phone, and it has no microphone. So you were hoping this maybe because as a speaker could have some Google Now, Alexa, Echo type component to it, but unfortunately no. You can pick one of these guys up now in blue or black for $199. They're separate in stores.